Hi, I'm Tom Zadro, and today we'll be talking about the Great Depression versus today's recession. First off, what is a recession? Well, the dictionary defines a recession as a widespread decline in our economy's GDP, or gross domestic product, lasting about 6 months to a year. The Great Depression of the 30s was by far the worst recession our economy has ever seen, because unemployment was higher, our GDP was lower, and there were more bank failures than any other recession. In my presentation, I'll be discussing today's recession in relation with the Great Depression, going over the causes, effects, and finally the solutions for both recessions to show how severe the Great Depression was in comparison. The Great Depression had a few main causes. First was the uneven distribution of wealth between the middle and upper class, which eventually led to the stock market crash of 1929. The uneven distribution caused an imbalance in wealth, which created an unstable economy, making the stock market artificially high, leading to its crash. Most Americans, however, blamed capitalism for creating economic bubbles, which eventually burst and created the stock market crash. That theory was proven wrong by Milton Friedman, a great free market economist, who showed the Federal Reserve allowed the money supply to shrink a third between 1929 and 1933. Today's recession, however, was caused by a lack of government oversight in lending. For example, credit default swaps. Credit default swaps are like insurance-like policies that promise to cover losses in the event of a default. The problem is that unlike banks and insurance companies, the credit swap market is not regulated. All recessions have basically the same effects. Unemployment raises, bank failures raise, and the GDP declines. As you can see from the chart I've created, the unemployment rate for the Great Depression was far worse at 25% to our 8.5%. There were many more bank failures during the Depression. 50% of all banks failed, where today is 0.6. There was also a greater economic decline during the Depression at 26.5% as opposed to our 3.3%. Solutions thought of during the Great Depression were FDR's New Deal and National Industrial Recovery Act, which actually ended up doing more harm than good, continuing the Depression for about 7 years. The New Deal and National Industrial Recovery Act were supposed to create government-sponsored cartels to promote fair competition, when in fact they did the opposite by contradicting themselves and approving codes to eliminate competition. Today, our government is taking initiative by bailing out the auto industry, which would have gone bankrupt if they hadn't. Our government gave them a $25 billion loan, $5 billion which went to the main 3 auto companies, and the rest was split up in small amounts and handed out to their suppliers. Kia also opened a factory in West Point, Virginia to help create jobs for Americans. As you can see, there are many similarities between the Great Depression and today, which prove the Great Depression was far worse than our economic situation today. Both economies went through and are currently going through a terrible recession. There are many similarities the effects the economy had on our country. There have been bank failures, unemployment rate has gone up, the housing market has been turned down, and our gross domestic product has gone down. The thing that makes the Depression different and worse than today are the numbers. There's a vast amount more people unemployed in the 30s than there were today. The same with banks failing and our GDP. we've already begun taking steps to get ourselves out of the recession, such as government bailouts for the auto industry and our nation's top banks. We need to learn from the solutions that were proposed during the time of the Great Depression and make sure not to make the same mistakes and hinder our recovery process. It's easy to compare the two recessions. It seems like today's recession will never get better. The fact is, eventually it will, just like it did after the Great Depression. The economy of the 30s was far worse than that of today, and after about a decade of severe recession, the economy built itself back up. With the right solutions and actions taken by our government, our economy will as well. Are there any questions?
Yes. What is the government doing to get us out of this recession?
Well, the government is already starting to bail out our top auto companies and banks, which helps save jobs and create a workforce for America.
Yes, I have another question. Do you think the recession has the risk of being equal to the severity of the Depression?
I don't think so, because today's recession, although it is bad, as you can see by the chart here, the numbers during the Great Depression are far worse. If that's all, thank you very much.